Spring sports are coming to an end, so stay tuned to hear our analysts' thoughts on the year so far. Also get an inside look at the life of a Bobcat Breakdown producer. Welcome to Studio 125. I'm your host, Heather Owen. Alongside me, I have Hannah Smith and Ben Kane. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling good tonight. How are you feeling, Ben? It's last show of the season.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little better than good. I'm feeling great. I got energy. I'm ready. Let's just get right into this.
All right, guys, it's been a big year here for the Bobcats. Which team was your favorite to watch? Ben?
So my favorite team is a team that I got to cover for the first time over the winter season, and that's the women's ice hockey team. They finished their year with a 26-10-3 record, and they were ranked consistently during 5 and 7 throughout the whole year in the national rankings, as well as peaking at number 1 for a certain point, which they have rarely ever done. You know, we talked a lot about it on this show, where it was either they were taking too many shots and they just weren't being consistent, or they were taking a little amount of shots and they were still getting those goals. But what this team did so well is that they always found a way to score. The fact that we were questioning how they should become more efficient is a good thing. They had 3 goals per game, and they only allowed 1.5 per game, which is a crazy stat. Now, there's also 2 players that reached the 30-point mark, which is the first time anyone's ever done that since 2016, with Sadie Peart doing it first, and then Olivia Mobley doing it after. Now, it wouldn't be a final Bobcat Breakdown if I didn't give one of my best analogies, so I'm going to go right for it. I got the women's ice hockey team. I have Chipotle. Hear me out. You go up to the counter. You get a bowl, right? So in the bowl, what do you start off with? The rice. There's 2 different pairings here. The Bobcats' first and second line of defense. You have Kendall Cooper and Courtney Vorster, and then Zoe Boyd and Kate Riley. That's the brown rice and the white rice. You start the foundation on that. Then you go to the meats. You can have chicken. You can have beef. You can have whatever you want. That's Schroeder and Logan Andrews. Either is a great option, but the fact that you can have 2 is fantastic. Then you move on, you got the corn salsa, the salsa verde, maybe a little bit of lettuce. Those are the players that are going to give you those goals. And with the Bobcats team that's so fluid to score throughout so many players, it's easy to pick who you want. You can rely on Nina Steigoff on certain nights, Olivia Mobley on others, Sadie Peart. And then finally, who doesn't love some nice guac? Well, this meal comes with free guac, and that is Cass Turner as the head coach, the cherry on top to a perfect burrito bowl or the perfect team this year.
See, now I'm going to have to go to the other side of the locker room right now, and I'm going to have to go, my team was the men's ice hockey team. I loved your analogy of Chipotle. I'm very hungry now, honestly. But I am going to have to go with the men's ice hockey team. I mean, to start off the season, they ended 37-3. They earned top ranking spots, and it was the first time since the 2015-2016 season that they were at the number 1 spot at one point. They also broke NCAA Division I records for shutouts in a season. They won the Connecticut Ice Championship, and in that game, Pretz set a school record for most shutouts in a season. The roster that made up the men's ice hockey team this year allowed them, in my eyes, to be the team of the year. You have players like Smilanic, Bongiovanni, Metza, Pretz, and many others who allowed them to soar as far as they possibly did this season. And while some players like Bongiovanni aren't coming back this year, we have Pretz who's coming back this year. We have Metza, we have DeYoung. We have so many phenomenal players, and so I only think that the men's ice hockey team, this was just the beginning for them, honestly.
You know, when I'm looking at this question, trying to figure out who I'm going to pick, the men's ice hockey team is a great option, but a lot was already expected of them this year, and they were able to prove that. Whereas the women's ice hockey team, there wasn't too much expected of them heading into the season. And you had like Sadie Peart, who I mentioned before, took off this year and scoring those 34 points. So expectation-wise, I think the women's ice hockey team was just that little bit better than the men's this year.
I think those are both really good teams, but if I had to pick one, I think I'd have to side with Hannah on the men's ice hockey team. They were definitely my go-to team to watch this year. Well, now that we talked about the teams, I want to know, who was your MVP? Hannah?
So mine, taking it from the ice to the court, Mackenzie Deweese. Mackenzie Deweese is my MVP of the year. She was a senior guard on the women's basketball team. And not just her, but the team alone were a team to watch this season. I mean, she can shoot from anywhere on the court. You look back to Deweese as a freshman, And you see she's blossomed into one of the strongest players representing the Quinnipiac women's basketball team. Statistically, she has gotten better. You look at the stat sheets, and looking back at 2018, her 2019 season when she was a freshman, I mean, she was just averaging about 2 points per game. And now you look at her and she's averaging 14 points per game. I mean, you see her numbers go up dramatically on the stat sheet, and you also see her just become so much more comfortable on the court and comfortable in the game, in her game as a whole, which is why she's my MVP of the season. I mean, she also has announced that she's coming back for her 5th year next year, which is awesome. She was also named MAC Player of the Year last year. So I really think that this year she was an eye to watch, as well as the women's basketball team. And next year, I mean, who knows what she's going to bring to the court.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the basketball theme there. I got a little bit of a quote to start this one off. So it says, "They are a point guard, and we have to give it to them to get it out. You don't give the ball to the power forward to make the play." That sounds like a basketball player. It's actually a soccer player. My MVP is Selena Solis from the women's soccer team. She led the MAC with 13 assists that year, as well as having the top 5 in the MAC for goals with 8. But what she does so well is she can move in any position on the field, whether she wants to play in the 6 and kind of hold and facilitate the play, the 8 and be the dog in the midfield, going back and forth, tracking down players as well as counterattacking really quickly, or being that 10 where she can be that creative option to kind of pull the strings for the likes of Rebecca Cook or Olivia Kudryko, all those players that we see. And as well as this season, one thing that I think really put her above everyone else is how she reacted when things did not go her way. In that second game against Marist, it was in the first overtime, Selena Solis has the penalty to win the game, and she misses it. She comes off the field, she's a little distressed, and Dave Clark pulls her aside, says something to her that we don't actually know what he said to her. And then in the second half, she comes on, the coolest and calmest player on that field, and she gets the assist for Rebecca Cook to win that game. My MVP is someone who not only is a leader off the field, as well as on the field. That's why she's a perfect pick for this.
All right, so we have Game of the Week every week, but now I want to know what your pick is for Game of the Year. Ben, take it away.
I'm going to stick with the soccer theme with this one. I've gone to the men's side, though, and I'm going to go with the Quinnipiac men's soccer team versus Monmouth. This was the MAC championship game from the year before, and Quinnipiac were very much faltering in the league heading into this game. They were 2-4, so they were on a bit of a slump. They couldn't figure out how to find goals. But in this game, everything just went their way. They played a Quinnipiac brand of soccer that I haven't seen since I've been here in my 2 years. It was just incredible to watch. They beat Monmouth the exact same way Monmouth beat them in that championship game. It's a cross on the right-hand side, a ball right in the box, and a wide-open player. This time, Jason Buda and not Adrian Gomez from Monmouth last year. It was an ultimate redemption story that set the Bobcats up to head into a playoff run, trying to break back into that playoff spot, although they lost to St. Peter's. But the momentum they gained from that game was so amazing, and it was just a fantastic game to watch as a neutral.
See, I'm going to switch it to, I'm going to stick with you on the soccer theme, and I know you are the big soccer man. I am not as, my soccer knowledge is not as great as you are, but I'm actually going to go to the women's soccer team, and I am going to say the game, to start off, there were incredible games this year, but I really think that this game versus Siena was one where jaws literally dropped open. At the time, Quinnipiac was sitting number 2 while Siena was at number 4. And this game was a nail-biter to say the least. In the first half, Siena, they took the lead and scored for the Saints, leaving the Bobcats down 0-1. And for, up until the 84th minute, sophomore Rebecca Cook scored that 1 goal in regulation, tying up the game 1-1. The game went into 2 overtimes, not 2, which led into the win of the penalty kick shootout for QU. This was the first time since 2016 that the Bobcats were advancing to the MAC championship, which is why this is my game of the year. I mean, you saw the passion and the atmosphere throughout the team. They wanted to win that game so that they could advance to the MAC championship, since they hadn't since 2016. So much went down in this game. I mean, Rebecca Cook scored her 13th goal of the season. The Bobcats shut out the Saints 27-6. So you just saw the drive that Quinnipiac had to win, and they went to the MAC championship. I mean, while it might not have ended the way the way that they wanted it.
Yeah, I think the big thing to know about that game as well is the Bobcats went down, and then they had to rely on Rebecca Cook, like you talked about. But Siena was so off focus when Rebecca Cook scored that goal. We saw it on the screen a few seconds ago. I was sitting in the stadium watching, and no one knew if she was onside or offside, and she was just in a wide pocket of space, and she just scored that goal. It kind of sums up the Bobcat season perfectly, where if they are a team that's getting beat, teams think we are that team, we are going to beat the Bobcats, this mighty team, and then they just fall off a little bit, and the Quinnipiac is able to capitalize and score. So fantastic choice.
Yeah.
I think those two games were both amazing examples to help lead us into this next question. So there have been tons of upsets this past year, but which team has surprised you the most? Hannah?
So honestly, I'm gonna go with the men's basketball team. They surprised me in a way that I didn't think I would be surprised. I mean, they placed last in the MAC. They lost 6 straight games in regular conference, and I mean, I think that if the Bobcats, I mean, they had like a pretty good start to their season. They had a pretty, good start. Then in the middle, they a little rocky. And then in the end, I mean, they just got on a rocky road that took them, down a path that they probably, didn't want to go down. And I mean, they had Tyrese Williams, who was down in near the end for like the last 3 games of the regular season because of an injury. And they also had Desi Jones, who was hurt early in their year. So, I mean, they didn't have everyone on the court when they wanted everyone on the court together. So, I mean, I think that I describe it as like a rocky road, like Mario Kart, the game Rocky Road. It was, rocky in the beginning, but then they just got down this path where they lost, but then they made it to the finish line.
Yeah, you talk about a few players not being on the court. For my surprise team, I've gone with the whole team that has been off the courts for over 700 days, and that's the acrobatics and tumbling team. In their first matchup against East Stroudsburg and Gannon, they unfortunately lost. I think it was by 4 or 5 points, but that's just a game to shake the cobwebs off. They head into the rest of the season. They slowly move up the NCAA tables, and they have their final matchup against Oregon. And this was a matchup where the Bobcats were not expected to win at all, and they ended up winning by a little bit less than a point, something to propel them into the national championships. So they go to the national championships a few weeks ago, and without their head coach, they once again take down Baylor. It's a team that has been defying odds all season, a team that hasn't been able to get their prep in as they weren't allowed on the courts during COVID. So it's a fantastic story and definitely my team this season.
I mean, I have to agree with you on that one. The acro and tumbling team soared expectations this year.
Now let's get a bit more specific. We talked about who your most surprising team was, but I want to know who was the most surprising player this year. Ben?
So mine's a player that when you look at the stat sheets, they have 0 goals and they have 3 assists. But I would love to just track this person's mileage on the field. My surprise player is first-year Anna Costello from the women's soccer team. She's a player that would just sit in the whole time in that 6 role. While she might not make the fancy pass, she might not boost forward and try to gain something on the attack, but what she did so well was she was just tracking players all across the field. She started 8 out of 18 games, but I think what's really noteworthy to note is that 6 of those 8 were in the final 6 games of the season, and she didn't really come off at all, apart from a bit of an injury sustained in one of those final games. She formed a really good midfield with Markela Villeri and Selena Solis, one that's going to be very hard to replicate next year. She was an excellent player in her first year, and that's why she's my surprise player of the year.
My surprise player of the year is Jackie Grisdale on the women's basketball team. She's a first year from Portland, Oregon. She scored 26 points in just 1 game. I mean, yeah, she was averaging about 4 points per game, but she, in her entire season, had about 126 points. And so I really think that, as the women's basketball team loses seniors next year, they're also gaining first years like Jackie Grisdale, who could potentially take the Bobcats even further next year.
It's time for our first break of the night, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll hear the analyst's thoughts on the upcoming year and get an inside look at the life of a producer.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well,
I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. We talked about our favorite teams from this past year, but now let's look ahead at your predictions for the year coming up. Which Quinnipiac coach do you think will bring their team to new heights? Hannah?
So like Ben talked about the Akron Tumbling team before the break, and I think that the Akron Tumbling team coach will take their team to the farthest that they have ever gone. I mean, this year, she took them to the farthest that they have ever gone. They made it to the national championship where they faced off against Baylor, and they ended up not winning, but maybe next year, you know, that lose can turn into a win with 5 first years that earned individual events at the national championship. Mind you, they are losing seniors, but they're also gaining 5 first years like Layla Tracy, Lindsay Rudolph, Summer Noel, and Tiffany Ziba, who in their first year have earned events at the national championship. So I think that Coach Marianne and her team just found their rhythm this year. I think last year, of course, was hard without a regular season, and this year they came back and really showed who they were as a team, and Coach Marianne really showed who she was as a coach. And I think next year, with these 5 first years, they will be able to soar even more and possibly win the national championship.
Yeah, so for my coach of the year, I've gone with Tanya Kotowitz from the women's lacrosse team. She got off to their best start in her all 7 years coaching year with a 5-3 record. They kind of fell off towards the end once they got into MAC conference play, but it was still so promising to see this young coaching staff and this young group kind of starting off so well. She began to create a really big culture around this group, and with the likes of Elle Grace Delmon, who was just named to All-MAC rookie first team, as well as Abby Wise coming back. And then you have the leadership of Desiree Kleiberg, Kat Hensel, they're coming back as well. This is a team that's going to be one to watch in the future, and especially as Coach Tanya Kotowitz, this is one of her very first groups that she has recruited all of them. So having that much trust in a team is only for good things ahead.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, trust is the number one thing in building any sort of team. And so, I mean, them as well as the Akron Tumbling team, I feel like could soar next year.
I definitely have to agree with both of you. I think both of these teams have had a pretty good season this year, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they will perform in the next seasons. Mm-hmm. Now, we heard your pick for this year's MVP, but it's time for you to tell us who you think will be the new Bobcat MVP for the next year. Ben?
Now, I'm sure you guys are going to guess this, but I'm going to go with another soccer player. This time I've gone with Rebecca Cook as the MVP for next year. She led the MAC in goals with 13, as well as getting in the top 10 for assists. But what she did so well this year was she played anywhere and everywhere. Dave Clark started her off in the front as a winger, and she was able to beat that first line of players, get a ball in the box, cross it, and get that assist. Then she kind of dropped a little bit back into midfield. She beat 2 lines of players and was able to once again take that long shot that we have never seen from her, or get a little bit more into the box and take a nice close tap in. And then to throw everyone off, including myself, against Fairfield, Rebecca Cook played right back. When I asked Dave Clark about it, he just said, "You and everyone else were so confused, and that is exactly what we were looking for." She's able to play anywhere, and she was able to beat 3 lines of defenders playing that right back position. If she can move back into that midfield and still only have 2 lines of players to beat and still have some energy moving forward, she's going to be a force in the MAC, and she already has been over her first 2 years at Quinnipiac. So the sky's the limit for Rebecca Cook.
The sky's the limit for a lot of players at Quinnipiac, I feel like, for next year. I mean, Rebecca Cook is definitely one of them. I'm going to have to go with Matt Blanc on the men's basketball team. He and Kevin Marfo have been named the All-MAC third team. He finished 6th in the MAC. And he also played in 27 of the 28 total games that Quinnipiac had, averaging about, 30 minutes. And mind you, he also made it to SportsCenter about 2 times this year for his incredible plays. So you definitely want to go check those out. I mean, he can shoot from anywhere on the court. I mean, you're looking at this B-roll right now. And so I think next year, as they are losing some people, they still have Matt Blanc. And I really do think that next year he will be a person to watch, and as well as the men's basketball team as a whole. So I'm really looking forward to see what Matt Blanc does with us next year.
Yeah, that's a really interesting name, one I didn't really think of. But like you said, all those players entering the transfer portal, is going to need to step up. And the seasons Matt Blanc has already had, it's going to be his role to step into if he wants it.
It is. I 100% agree with you there.
On Bobcat Breakdown, we often have an inside opinions and looks into what the sports world is like. But now it's time to show you what the world of a sports show producer is like.
We said we would take you on a tour of all things producer related, and that is exactly what we're doing here in the Q30 Media Suite, aka Studio 125. This is where all the magic happens.
Right now, we are sitting at the table where all things Quinnipiac sports are debated on. And mind you, at the beginning of this year, we did not have the table. And as a new set behind us has appeared, we brought the table back.
And speaking of that new set, thanks to Joe Agrippo, there are no more shows on that ugly blue wall behind us. Now we can have a bit more fun, be a bit more creative on this new set.
We're going to continue to take you to all of the spots producer related where all the magic of the shows happen. When we're not editing or in class or getting ready to set up for the show, we take our time and our break to get ourselves dinner and our favorites, candy. I usually get the high chews because they're easy to eat. I can do it while we're setting up. I can do it during our break time. It's always fun. It's always relaxing. It is our few seconds to breathe before showtime really kicks in.
Come on, let's go take a look inside the control room where everything behind the scenes goes down. Right here we have our teleprompter where our host reads off of the teleprompter. Over here is the audio where we, before every show, set up the microphones and make sure that everyone sounds perfect. Right here is where the director and the TriCaster sits. The director has a very important job, and so does the one who is on the TriCaster. The director will speak into the talent's ears and tell them which camera to look into, and the person on the TriCaster will control everything that you see on the screen at home. So all of the B-roll, all of the full screens, all the topic bars, that is all done by the person on the TriCaster.
After me and Hannah took that long walk to the CC, we saw that Heather's in this thing called class. We don't really know what it is. Me and Hannah are hard at work each and every day making graphics, B-roll for Breakdown. Heather usually leaves us maybe once or twice. She says, go to this thing called class. I think she's right in there if you want to take a look.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hey.
How you doing? Good to see you. Right now, we are in CCE in front of the Mac Lab, and this is where we not only did all of the graphics for Bobcat Breakdown, but we also had a few dance parties in there, too. I mean, I can say Breakdown has some amazing dance skills.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to the Bobcat Breakdown dance party, what's your move? What's the signature move?
His gritty.
Other than the gritty, what's your move?
Oh, he can Dougie and he can gritty.
Oh, they're taking graduation pictures. At least, we're not doing that right now, but...
Wait. Take a close-up to them, and then pan to me. And Hannah walking. I got it ready for you. You can record this whole thing as I talk about what joke I'm going to make. Tell me one. I wonder what they're gonna say for their final roars up there.
Come on in.
Come on. And
Oh, hey,
welcome to our
friends.
crib.
Hey, how are you? Bobcat Breakdown is about to begin.
Heather got changed too.
Heather,
How was class?
how was class? You know,
Class.
yeah, you had to do it. Well, here we are. It's almost 9:30 on a Tuesday, and as you can tell, we are ready to debate Quinnipiac sports.
We want to thank you guys for following us this whole day, seeing what we do behind the scenes from the production staff, as well as now going on desk in about 30 minutes time.
Thank you for joining us as we showed you what the life of a producer on Bobcat Breakdown is like. We're going to go to a quick commercial, but when we come back, we have everyone's favorites, final roars.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Welcome back. Now it's time for everyone's favorite final roars. Unfortunately, our fellow executive producer Ethan Logue was unable to be with us here tonight, but he did record his final roar and sent it in. So let's take a look.
Hello everyone. My name is Ethan Logue and I was the executive producer of Bobcat Breakdown this semester. After avoiding it for over 2 years, COVID finally got me late last week, meaning I was not able to attend tonight's show. Disappointing, I know, but that shouldn't dampen the mood for tonight's celebration. For my final roar of the year, I want to talk about the sports department as a whole and what the senior class means to it. This has been, without a doubt, the best class the Q30 sports department has had during at least my time at Quinnipiac, but maybe the station has had as a whole. From incredible beat reporters like Ross Meglin, Eric Kerr, Jack Main, AJ Fernrar, Roberto Casillas, Shannon Tierney, and Pat Flatley, incredible producers, some of whom I was fortunate enough to work with, and John Surratt, Ryan Coop, Kylesia Smith, and Lo Yarnell, and some of the best leadership we could have asked for in Joe LaGrippo and Jacob Resnick. These people are the backbone and driving force of the Q30 sports department and deserve all the credit in the world for the countless time and effort that they have put in for the station, for the lasting impact that they have left on not only the members of this department, but on me as an individual. I'm forever grateful and thankful for what you have all done. I promise to follow all your careers with great interest, and once again, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done. Though the future at the Q30 Sports Department is very bright, I think I can speak for everyone when I say we owe it all to you. Thank you.
The last show of the semester has snuck up on us very fast. Here we are, it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday in May, and I'm sitting alongside of the producers of this show to show you our thanks to Q30 and the Bobcat Breakdown team. I was EP of this show fall semester, and in my time as EP, I not only found my passion, but I grew to become a part of a family. Q30 is more than a club. Q30 creates dreams. Every person in Studio 125 has a passion, and you can see that when you talk to any member. The future. It's a scary and exciting concept to think about. The future of Q30 awaits us, with the extremely talented seniors who have set up Q30 and the underclassmen for success. I believe Q30 will blossom to be even more. To the seniors, I would like to thank you for teaching us about dreams and goals and how to achieve those. We will all miss you dearly next year and hope to see a few familiar faces pop into the media suite. To my fellow Q30 members who are coming back next year, let's make this a year we won't forget. The talent each and every one of you holds is so special, and know you will all do amazing things with your time at QU and in the workplace. I am beyond excited to see all of your faces again next year. To any incoming freshmen who are interested in television, either behind the scenes producing, on-air photography, and more, this is the place for you. To the sports department and Bobcat Breakdown, thank you for helping me grow into the person I am today. This isn't the end for me or Breakdown. Next year, the show is in the hands of myself and my fellow executive producer, Connor Core. We are beyond excited and grateful that we get to work with every single one of you. Enjoy your summer, and thank you for sticking with Bobcat Breakdown. I will see you next year.
Unlike a lot of the final roars you have recently seen, I am not saying my final goodbyes and will be back next year. With that said, as the year comes to an end, that means my time as executive producer is too. As a first year here at Quinnipiac University, I became an associate producer of Bobcat Breakdown. Then my second year came, and I became the executive producer of Bobcat Breakdown. Being a producer on this show has meant the absolute world to me. I have learned so much holding these positions and have made lifelong friends, two of which are sitting right beside me. It was a hard decision to step away from the role as a producer, but one that I felt I had to make. Thank you to everyone who has watched the show this past year. I will truly miss it, but as I said before, I'm not leaving quite yet, and we'll see you again next year.
For the past few weeks, you've seen seniors and graduate students come to the show to say their final goodbyes to a station that has truly changed their lives. While I may not be graduating, I can say goodbye to something that has truly changed my life, and that is the class of 2022. To the class of 2022, I think I can speak for everyone that coming into this year, no one had a clue who I was, or really anything about me. I had trouble really putting myself out there, and it all seemed like a lost cause until I got invited to film a rugby game in the middle of September, and my life completely changed. From this day on, I became more comfortable with myself as a person, and that translated to the content. To the class of 2022, you pushed me to new heights I never thought I would reach. You pushed me to better myself each and every day as a journalist in the hopes that I could be like you, the class of 2022. You did not have to welcome me with open arms this year, but you did. You didn't have to drive me to Dunkin' each week, or go on trips to get bananas, or even just text me in the middle of the night when I was panicked about something, or really do anything you do, but you did. So the class of 2022, you showed me how to mentor an up-and-coming group of people into this organization, and not only treat them like friends, but family. To the class of 2022, you taught me that no matter how difficult some situations may be, they can always get better. No matter what I was going through in my life, whether it was producing breakdown and newscasts, or stressing more to make more content rather than my schoolwork, you taught me to take a slow breath and just breathe. Q30 has become my home this past year, and losing this group of people, while yes devastating, is only the start of something great. To the class of 2022, you have all become my family, and I will never forget the impacts each and every one of you had on my life, because you truly changed it. To the class of 2022, all I can say is thank you.